Welcome back to ZQ1 Plays, where it is Tier List Tuesday, and today we're going to be looking at all of the enemies from Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and ranking where exactly they fall in terms of fun, challenge, and all of the above. Let's get right into it. Please remember to like the video and subscribe if you're new here. It means a lot, and it really goes a long way in helping my channel out. But without further ado, let's get right into it. And what we're going to do is we're going to be ranking all of these enemies from the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. But you know, unlike a lot of people's tier list, this is going to be purely like how fun are these enemies to fight, or maybe like what kind of feelings do you have when you see these enemies approaching. And so I think you'll understand more as we get into it. So let's start. Starting out, we have the Choo enemies, or that's what they used to be called. They might just be called Choo jellies, or I'm not sure exactly what. But the regular one, these things are pretty non-threatening. They're also like kind of annoying because you have to avoid their blast like once they explode. And so I'm going to put the regular, I'm going to probably put all four down here in D tier. They're not very fun to fight, to be honestly, but especially these elemental ones, when they explode after you touch them, they're pretty annoying. So keys in this game are just kind of meh, like they don't really do a whole lot to you, and I mean they're just annoying when they show up because they're not exactly fun to fight, but they just kind of bother you and get in the way. Electric keys have a special shout out because they have a little bit more AoE than the others, and they can shock you and make you drop your gear, which is never fun. Okay, Octoroks are next, okay? Octoroks used to be kind of a threatening-looking enemy in Zelda games, but in Tears of the Kingdom, they're really a lot like they were in Breath of the Wild. They're not anything more than kind of a surface-level annoyance. However, the Rock-type Octoroks, because of the little thing where they're able to upgrade your weapons, I have to put them in A tier, because they when I see one, my eyes light up, and I'm like excited because I can go and use them to upgrade my weapons. The chest ones, to me, have to be pretty low. That's like the worst feeling, to find a chest and then get thrown because he pops up right in front of you. Okay, this looks like the grassy field one, or possibly the water one. I can't really tell. Let's say it's the water one. Kind of middling to me. Here's a grassy-looking one, and the sandy ones, yeah, all of them are kind of like right in the middle. Okay, let's talk about Wizrobes. Wizrobes are next. Yeah, I don't know. I think because of the way that elements work, and I learned through Breath of the Wild that if you hit these things with their opposite element, it pretty much makes them a cakewalk to defeat. I will say the stronger versions that they added in this game are definitely slightly, more threatening, and they're more fun to go against consequently, because there's kind of like that little bit of adrenaline rush, like, oh, I'm getting into a challenging battle here. But the originals are pretty weak sauce in this game. So, okay, I don't know if this is even a hot take or not, but these new enemies in this game I really like. I mean, obviously they're throwback enemies to really old Zelda. But the likes are actually really fun. There's no way they're A tier. They're probably B tier. But they have a little bit of strategy to them, right? You hit them with their element, and then you hit their weak spot, and then you go up for damage. And every single one of them, I can't really say that any of them are better than the others, but they're fun. And when I see one hanging from a wall, rarely do I leave it. I always go and interact and engage and try to defeat it, because they're a good time to me. Okay, so special shout out, of course, to the regular like who is able to duplicate weapons in the newest patch, which is really funny. If you haven't seen that, please check out my video. I'll throw it in the iCard right now. All right, so please check out that video, and if you haven't already, duplicate your weapons, get them going. All right, next up is I believe this thing's called an Evermean, and yeah, I don't know. I think it was cool when they first appeared, like at the first moment. I'll probably put the top of C tier. Yeah, because they're fun, but they're not. Once you understand them, they're really kind of boring, I guess, because they're so easy and they're pretty non-threatening. Aracuda, I know I've heard other people say this. Cool enemy, really like them, but they're either just like blatantly annoying because they interrupt you from being able to glide from point A to point B, or they're just like so easy because they die in one hit. And so to me, they're kind of like if they had been a little tougher, maybe we would have something better to say about them. But the Gibdo, these guys are top of B tier to me. just in terms of like how fun they are to fight, because they kind of, again, like the likes, they take a little bit of an extra step to defeat, and they're more fun to me than just like your normal standard enemies. Okay, bokoblins. In general, the red and the blue, I mean, I have to say, are like C tier enemies. They're so weak, especially after the early game. Black ones and silver ones are B tier for me. And I do enjoy them probably better than the Gibdos. They're, the black one not so much, but the silver one, they're challenging. Like, they can do really good damage to you. And they carry a ton of really good weapons a lot of the time, the silver ones especially. And I just love the horns that the silver one have, and especially attaching those to my weapons. It's so fun. All right, let's see. The Stalkoblins, they're going to be, D tier. Yeah, even worse than the chest Octoroks, in my opinion. They're just an annoyance. And, like, literally, with the addition of Dazzle Fruit, they're even easier to kill now. And when they pop up, it's, like, so inconsequential. Like, I don't want the bone attachments. I don't want the weapons that they're carrying, which are usually rusty ones. I don't want the base level Bokoblin horn. Like, there's nothing about them that is interesting or that even makes me want to interact with them at all. All right? And I guess in that same vein, I would put the Stall Moblin maybe a few slots up, but it would be still in the same kind of camp. All right, let's get into the Boss Bokoblin. One of my favorite, if not the derpiest addition to Tears of the Kingdom. So we're going to go, trying to think here. Probably just below the Gibdo, maybe. And then kind of do the same thing. The black and the silver one go up higher because they're just a little more challenging. But yeah, absolutely great enemies. Every time I see one, I'm excited because I love the way that they interact with Bokoblins. And they command them around. They even like pick up the Bokoblins and chunk them at you. And I like how plump these guys are. We'll just put it that way. They're very fun enemies to fight. All right, Moblins are next. Man. Again, they're fun. They get old. They're a little one-dimensional to me, especially compared to the Bokoblins and the Boss Bokoblins, who have quite a bit more depth. I will say that they're better than like the base Bokoblins, but they don't compare to the higher level Bokoblins in my opinion. So C tier for all of the Moblins. Next up, we have Lizalfos. Basic Lizalfos, slightly better than the Moblins. Okay. Silver Lizalfos are definitely B tier, probably just above the Gibdo, and we'll put the black ones there with them as well. They have a little bit of a challenge to them. The Stall Lizalfos are down with the Stalkoblins, just not my favorite at all. Then the Elemental Lizalfos are definitely all in B tier because they're fun. When you come upon them, you can kill them in one hit if you have the right elemental attack, and if you don't, then I think that's the blue one. Let's put the blue one down here. There's the silver one. If you don't have the right elemental attack, then they pose a little bit of a threat, especially the electric Lizalfos without that weakness. Yeah, they're very fun. So I would definitely say Lizalfos are some of the better like standard enemies in the game. Horriblins, again, yeah, they're going to be right in this zone. Probably all four of them, because even the silver Horriblin is not really that powerful or that hard to defeat. But they are all very fun, and it thrills me to come into a cave where there's like a bunch of them, because they have a lot of reach, and they can overwhelm you really quickly. But in general, like having to shoot them off the ceiling and then run up and wallop them, it's very fun. Okay, of course, now we're getting into the tiers of enemies that are going to be probably getting a little bit higher, closer to topping the list. All right, and that is Lynels. All four of the Lynels are A tier. Actually, I'll tell you what, the silver Lynel is going to be S tier, just because of the challenge that they have. I think I fought a silver Lynel one time, maybe in the depths in a Coliseum that had plate armor, and that was one of the most fun experiences in this whole playthrough of Tears of the Kingdom. The feeling of overcoming that thing reminded me a little bit of like a Dark Souls boss or a mini boss, you know. Okay, now let's talk about the constructs. These are the soldier constructs, and man, the early ones are just so easy that I might have to go like bottom of C tier. But as they get harder, they definitely are able to keep up with stuff like the Lizalfos. No, they're not quite as good as the likes, but they are fun, and they're definitely fun to fight against. And the captain constructs, man, honestly, these things are a little bit annoying. because they don't stagger near as easily. They're kind of like what the Moblin is to the Bokoblin, but I don't know. Also, their fuse ability is kind of broken because sometimes it's like really, really hard to deal with, and other times it's they attach like a rock or a charge or something, and it like does nothing. So I don't know. Probably bottom of B tier. They're fun, but they're not anything like exquisite. All right, and then next up we have, this looks like a training construct. Yeah, probably down here with the other soldiers. Not really doing much for me. So, okay. Now these guys. These are actually really fun. Some of the most fun mini bosses in any of the Zelda games. And so, let's put all three of them up here in A tier for sure. They're very, very fun to fight. I especially like the level 3 flux constructs because they take a little bit more to get them down, but finding the block, and even especially on the level 3 when it's like switching around and stuff, and you got to like wiggle it and make it fly and then run up and bash it. It's just a fun form of a boss fight, especially like the different forms that it takes, and you're able to like use some of Link's abilities, like his what is it called, Ascend, like that one. And there's some others that you're able to use in order to, be able to fight this guy on the level that he's fighting at, and so. It's very fun. The recall ability as well works wonders against these guys. And so, alrighty. So next up, it looks like we're going to have, let's see here, the Yiga clan. Okay, so we have the regular kind of Yiga warrior, and then we have the Blade Master. Man, I don't know. Top of C tier for him. B tier for the Blade Master. Yeah, I mean, fun. For sure. The Blade Master, definitely more so. But especially the regular clan members, they're so weak that they're just like way too easy. Master Koga, on the other hand, top of A tier. The dude is a hoss. He's so fun in this game. In the first game, it's like way too easy. But in this game, he's still pretty easy. But like just the different machines that he's created, it's hilarious. I love it so much. Okay. These guys, to me, are F tier enemies. There's nothing like remarkable about them, and they're just kind of annoying when they show up. The chews actually give you like usable materials that are like really important, but these guys sometimes give you flint or amber, nothing that's like too crazy important, and they just pop up at like the worst of times, it seems like. Also, the magic for me is worn off on the stone taluses. Like, yes, the new one that they added is cool, but there's now 6 variations of these stone taluses, and to me, they get a little old fighting after a while, especially like the ones that the crystals are in hard to reach places. Like, it just, to me, it really loses its luster. And so we're going to go top of D tier for the regular ones, basically. And then we'll do the Battle Talus, top of C tier, because that was always fun. Like when you start attacking enemies from their perches and then you find out that they're all riding on the Stone Talus. The elemental ones are in D tier as well. They're especially annoying. Like, to me, the annoyance that they add is not worth like the extra layer of strategy because being frozen, being on fire, having to change clothes and all that, it's just like, it's not my favorite part. Okay, let's get into the Hinoxes, or Hinix, however you say it. The Stalnox is definitely going to be pretty high. I enjoy fighting these guys. Let's go top of B tier with him. He is unique, because he has the eyeball that pops out, and actually the eyeball is the health bar that you're working on rather than his body. So sometimes he can actually take more hits than the regular Hinoxes do. So, all right, picking back up with the regular Hinoxes. Honestly, in my opinion, I don't have as much fun with these guys as I do the likes. But they're definitely fun, and the black ones are actually probably more like up here with the boss bokoblins because they are a little bit of a challenge. But as far as like the regular ones go, they're fun. You can melt them so quickly in this game. But they are still a fun experience. So, all right, next up we have Molduga. Molduga, just like in the old game, or in Breath of the Wild, still a very fun enemy. It's probably going to be, I don't know if it'll be this area, maybe up here. Yeah, it probably has to be with the Stalnox because it is uniquely fun and challenging to me. Top of B tier. No, I tell you what, let's put Molduga in A tier. He's fun. He's just really fun to fight. Some of the most thrilling encounters in the game, for sure. Probably more so than the Lynels, in my opinion. But besides like the silver Lionel is still, I think, probably more fun. But these guys are a blast. Like you'll see them from a distance, and then I love that because like you kind of have your choice of when you want to go engage with them. You don't have to go right into it unless you just happen upon them. But finding that King Gleeok down under Hyrule in the depths and like stumbling upon it for the first time, being like, whoa, he's got a head of each element. That was bizarre and at the same time like really exciting. I was like, wonder what he's going to do. And he was everything that I hoped for. And it's, I love them because those boss fights never last less than like 4 or 5 minutes. Like they're pretty tanky, and you're able to kind of like slowly whittle away. Amazing additions. Unlike the Frocks, which in my opinion kind of falls a little flatter than some of the like original bosses from the first game, and so I'll probably put them here with the Wizrobes, the higher level of Wizrobes. The Frocks they're okay. Now I will say the blue and white Frocks is a little more challenging, and thus kind of stands up a little bit higher, like with the Gibdos and the Lizalfos and stuff, as pretty fun. It's kind of like a little bit of a challenge. But the regular Frocks they're so easy, right? I mean, you shoot their eye, hop on and slap them with the hammer, shoot a bomb in their mouth, and then hit them with the hammer. It's like usually you can finish them off within 2 minutes, and there's not a whole lot of threat there. All right, next up are the various dragons, and these aren't really boss fights as much as they are, experiences to kind of fly by them and gather parts and different things. But these dragons are, they're definitely like, I don't know, they're an experience to be had for sure. The first time that you see one and you're able to fly next to one, it is very, very exciting. So let's go A tier with these. Probably, I guess if we're going A tier, probably below Molduga. Because they're not a fight, like I don't get just like overly excited when I see them, but it always is a fun like kind of rush to see one and be like, oh, I'm going to go try to shoot its horn and gather that part. While we're here, I'll also put the light dragon up here. I will say though, the light dragon, it's not really an enemy, right? But in terms of just like the experience with you, when you first see the light dragon, you kind of have that experience of finding out what the light dragon is and everything. I won't spoil it all, but incredible design. Colgera, probably S tier. I don't know. Maybe with the King Gleeok. Let's go A tier. So easy, so simple, but so fun. Like the enemy, the fact that you're having to ride the wind and shoot it with fire, and then shoot it with a regular arrow or with another fire arrow. It's just so much fun, and it takes like the bullet time type of combat that you're used to in Breath of the Wild just to a new extreme, and makes it so useful and such a blast. Colgera, it reminded me of like some of the best Zelda bosses from years gone by, right? Yeah, actually might even be better than Koga. Really fun boss. Yunobo, he's a little short-lived to be like just an incredible boss, but he's definitely a fun encounter. I won't give away too much of the story, but getting to fight a Goron, it was intimidating, and it was pretty crazy. This one, I'm not sure what exactly this is, and perhaps I'm forgetting something. Or maybe it's a special stone talus or something you have to fight separately. I'm not sure exactly what this is. So if you know what it is, please leave a comment in the comment section below. I'd be happy to rank it in the comments if I find out what it is. I couldn't quite make out the picture. It's like a marbled something, but it's not marbled Goma, because that's this one, and that would be next on my list. Better than Yunobo, but I don't think he's as fun as a Molduga or the Flux constructs. He is very fun. Definitely top of B tier. But, he is also pretty simple, and he's also a little bit repetitive. The Sludge-like, absolutely up here with the Goma. When you first see this thing, like, to me it reminded me of something like from, again, Dark Souls. It's grotesque, and it's like sludgy, and it's disgusting. Like, it makes your stomach kind of turn over to even look at it. But fighting it with water and then kind of attacking it was a very fun boss fight. Definitely held its own, but it wasn't like extremely special. The Muktarok, on the other hand, absolutely like the most cutesy and yet like chaotic boss battle, I think, in the whole game. I really enjoyed this one. Probably above the Flux constructs, but not quite to the level of like a Lionel would be. But the Muktarok is super fun. Queen Gibdo as well. Like this thing, I was just thinking to myself as I was going through, the game. Queen Gibdo, the boss design, like just the aesthetic of it, the sand and the mummy wraps, and the way that it, like is weak to lightning and fire, but it's kind of like invulnerable before that. It just makes it an incredibly fun and engaging experience. And then the way that it looks is daunting, and the flashing colors, and yeah, this is an incredibly designed boss. Probably the top of A tier for me. Actually, let's go S tier. This is definitely a very fun encounter. Unfortunately, the same is not true of the seized construct. I think that's what it's called, seized construct. Cool story moment, but it wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't to me. I don't know. It was a little bit, to me, it felt like it wasn't very polished, or like maybe it was a good idea, but the clunkiness of controlling a construct could have been smoother. Like, I've made robots throughout this whole game, and now I get to pilot a robot, but the controls are just so clunky, and they don't feel natural, and it just feels like I'm not able to do what I necessarily want to do with this construct that I'm controlling. So to me, I think it was a very cool concept. It just wasn't realized maybe in the best way. So probably here with the Froxes, in terms of like there's a big wow factor, but then you get into the fight and it's like, okay, I just have to punch him 4 times and then run around. Like, yeah, it wasn't my favorite. Gloom Hands, probably unpopular opinion, but they're A tier for me. The panic that you feel when that music starts and you see that patch of black and red, and you're just like, you're so like worried that these things are gonna just stagger you and kill you. And I died to these things probably 3 or 4 times the first time I encountered them. But you kind of learn a bit about how to face them. Like, don't stand on the ground, get up in the air, shoot bomb arrows to hit the whole pack at once. All of those tips and tricks. And to me, again, just the panic and the fear that comes with these things popping up. They're a memorable and exciting encounter, and Phantom Ganon's right there with them. It reminded me of, excuse my love for Dark Souls, but an NPC invader. When someone would invade your world, and it's like you get this little message, Phantom Ganon has invaded you, and then you like have to fight him and get him out of your world. Is very fun. It felt like it was a duel of sorts. You know what I mean? Okay. All right, and now we're to the bottom 3, or the last 3 enemies that are left here, and that is Ganondorf, the Demon King, and the Demon King's Dragon. Now, I will say this. I am in the middle of the Hyrule Castle, finale to the game where you find Ganondorf, and so I have not fought these bosses yet. But as a placeholder, I will place them in S tier, and I would like for you guys to participate in the end of this tier list with me and tell me, where do you think these 3 bosses rank? And I will be coming back to, addendum this tier list, probably just do a boss tier list of Tears of the Kingdom here in a few weeks once I beat the game. But I can only imagine that these bosses are incredible and super fun to look at. All right, so there's my tier list. You can see kind of how they're ranked, F through S. The only F tier ones are like the little stone pebblet things, and the only S tiers were really Queen Gibdo and the Silver-Maned Lionel. But there are so many good enemies in this game. So many things that are like fun to encounter, and whenever you do encounter them, it's like you kind of have this rush and this excitement to beat them again or to beat them for the first time. Or in the case of like the Gloom Hands and Phantom Ganon, you get this like panic, like, oh no, like I got to get out of here. I don't want to fight these things. Or like, hey, this is my time to perform so I don't die and I can fight these things. Well-designed enemies throughout the whole game. And I hope you guys enjoyed this tier list. So please let me know some of your maybe top 3 favorite enemies from the game below. And then we'll be back with another tier list next week. Thank you guys so much for watching.